our chief guest, the Honorable the Chief Justice of Uganda and the Honorable the Deputy Chief Justice. Permit me to stand on the already established protocol. We want to thank you, my Lord the Chief Justice, for always inviting us to be part of this. For me, sitting at the Ministry of Justice, it gives us an opportunity to come and bask in the achievements of the judiciary. I also do believe that it is a manifestation of working together. Your values are clear and they are written everywhere around us. Independence, impartiality, transparency, professionalism, integrity, accountability, equality. You would call these your 7 commandments. Now, like all the commandments, you don't need to break all in order to go to hell. It is enough to break one. So you cannot say, I'm professional, but sometimes I'm influenced by money. That I'm actually impartial, but I can succumb to undue influence. So today, we congratulate you, my Lord the Chief Justice, and the team you lead, for the transformational work you have done. It will be up to our chief guest to speak for the government. But as your mouthpiece in the government, because you don't sit in parliament, you don't sit in the cabinet, it is the Minister of Justice who, despite occasionally criticizing the judiciary, largely has the duty to represent the interests of the judiciary, because the judiciary serves the people of Uganda. We congratulate you for the teamwork that we see in the judiciary. Surely, this kind of alignment is important. We also thank you for doing your part to ensure that the constitutional spirit of checks and balances are manifest. Though we call them checks and balances, they are actually 2 separate concepts. Most people think checks and balances mean one thing. The checks are supposed to limit power, and occasionally you draw the line when we cross it as the executive. And each of the other branches also check the other. The balances means that you cater for the broad interests of all Ugandans. So we thank you for that spirit. On Monday, our chief guest on the order paper will be the National Alternative Dispute Resolution Policy. Many people think these cases are about the lawyers and the judges. These cases are actually about the parties in dispute. You'd think that it is common sense, but somehow the way people talk, it is as if the courts also are disputing. Like the recent case, it's the government through the Attorney General which was disagreeing with Mr. Kabazigiruka. The judges were not involved. They never filed the case themselves. They only got involved because we were not agreeing about what the law is. Whether it is about property, whether it is about money, whether it is about land, whether it is about civil liberties, the disagreements are among the citizens of Uganda. But most of the time, we talk as if the judiciary is part of the conflicts. So the ADR policy will support the initiative you, my Lord, the Chief Justice, and the judiciary are already doing. For instance, plea bargaining. When you read the media, they talk as if the accused persons plead guilty at gunpoint. I don't know whether any accused person pleads guilty at gunpoint. If so, that would be very unfortunate. The truth is, nobody wants to plead guilty. In one of the interesting English cases, somebody was taken to court on accusation of stealing a sheep. And the counsel for the defense, as all lawyers try, to plead very vigilantly for their clients, claimed that the sheep whose bones were found in the defendant's compound had fatally injured itself by rubbing its neck on a sharp rock. So, this is what the judge said. I found this case very interesting and I put it somewhere in my notes. The judge said, that is a very plausible suggestion to start with. But having commenced your line of defense on that ground, you must continue with it and carry it to the finish. And to do this, you must show that not only did this sheep commit suicide, but that it skinned itself and then buried its body, or what was left of it, after giving a portion to the prisoner to eat in the prisoner's garden and covered itself up in its own grave. I don't say the jury may not believe you, we shall see. But gentlemen, what do you say? Is the sheep or the prisoner guilty? These are the interesting scenes we see in the criminal division. Even somebody who shouldn't waste court's time will really insist that they are not guilty. And we, the lawyers, obviously are very creative in trying to seek all avenues. So the judiciary, our chief guest, has found a way to say, look, instead of going to jail for 5 years, you can actually get 2. Instead of going to jail for 2 years, you may be asked to do community service. You remember the famous case of KCCA where the late Honorable Abiriga went and relieved himself on the newly painted walls of, I think, the audit department. So he was arrested under the KCCA rules. He pleaded, of course. He said, you know, I'm diabetic and sometimes I cannot hold my bladder. So the court was lenient and they gave him a sentence of a fine. But if he had insisted, things would have been worse. This, in my view, is the way to empty the prisons. Luzira is overcrowded. We have 4 times the people we should be keeping there. Before coming here, I had a conversation with the Minister of Internal Affairs. And he told me that he hopes to persuade government to actually relocate Luzira prison so that we have a bigger facility on larger land. He even told me something scary, which I hope the inmates will not get to know, that the walls are actually not strong enough. So, if you have a knife and you have a lot of time, you can easily scratch your way in the course of 1 year to freedom. Definitely, this is worrying. Through the government policy of rationalization, the Center for Alternative Dispute Resolution is now coming to the Ministry of Justice as a department. I've asked the Attorney General to make sure that we recruit someone at the rank of a commissioner, so that those who are involved in arbitration and mediation actually have the requisite skills. Parliament has already reallocated the funds that had been budgeted for those rationalized agencies to go to the line ministries. We also hope to make some changes in the law to increase the jurisdiction of chief magistrates and other magistrates' courts. You find high court judges stuck with all sorts of cases which should actually be handled by chief magistrates. And these developments are positive, and the judiciary is already leading the way in this. I wish to call for more mentorship of our judicial officers. Our schools of law do not teach character. They give you a lot of knowledge. You will be very clever and very good in your profession. But things like character are a result of mentorship. I've had conversations with the leadership of the Uganda Judicial Officers Association, and we hope that through mentorship, now that we are recruiting very many new judicial officers, it is important that the senior judicial officers start mentoring the new people who are coming. His Grace the Archbishop will correct me, but I'm told that the origin of the staff you carry is that when you have a stubborn sheep, you can disable it a bit, you break one leg so that it slows down, but then you as the shepherd, you now have to carry that sheep on your shoulder. So the sheep gets very close to you, it gets to understand your voice, even your smell, and goes wherever you go. Of course, the sheep will heal, but when it goes, it may actually be probably the best sheep ever, almost like St. Peter, because St. Peter was not as straightforward as you remember in the Bible. The passages, as I always say, are there between the book of Genesis and Revelations. You will find it. It is there, I'm sure, between those two books. So, Peter, after betraying Jesus, he went to warm himself by the fire, and he continued denying, he didn't want to be associated with his master. But also he had been disappointed, because for him he was looking at things through worldly lenses. Even when he pulled out his knife and cut off somebody's ear, thinking that he would get a medal from the master for courage. Instead, the master put back the ear, and he must have been very disappointed. What sort of war is this, where now you heal the enemy instead of killing them? But eventually, he is the one who is said to have been the rock. So some of the errant judicial officers that are subject to disciplinary proceedings eventually may actually be the very best if we adopt this system of mentorship. I'll speak about myself. I was not an easy student, to put it mildly. All through my journey, I have some classmates here in the judiciary. They know what sort of person I was, even at the university. In primary school, I was always put in front, and the headmaster always called me to his office. I thought he liked me, but actually the fact is that he thought I was difficult and I needed special attention. So some of you young judicial officers, when you see the Chief Justice is always calling you and talking to you, it may actually be a signal that you need some will alignment. which is not a bad thing because it means that the senior people have faith in you. I'm just giving you my own example in line of the shepherd and the shepherd's staff. This is important even for members of the bench. Members of the bench also, we hope you can really focus on the substance of these cases. Preliminary objections, interlocutory applications, injunction, these kind of applications. So judges are all the time spending all their time dealing with your applications instead of the substance of the case. I hope there will be a solution to that. Of course, we the lawyers, sometimes we want to earn our money, so we must show everything to our client. I'll tell you my own story. In the early days as a young lawyer, you know, in LDC during moot, you are taught how to be militant in court to really show your client that you're a fighter. So one day there was a case involving a client of mine who had been accused of threatening violence, and he is alleged to have chased his wife with a panga. So as a young lawyer in my 20s, I started cross-examining the complainant, or rather examining her crossly, really. I don't think it was cross-examination. I asked her, so what time was this incident? She said it was around 7 p.m. So it was dark. Yes. And then, as usual with young lawyers, I put it to you that you're a liar because there's no way you would have seen any panga. And then the lady rubbishes me by saying to the judge, my lord, it is the lawyer who is a liar because he wasn't there. So this mentorship is not only about the judges, it is also about the lawyers. I urge the president of the Uganda Law Society to ensure that the troops that he leads are focused on the proper approaches to serve the clients better. Like this case which has just been disposed of. These big lawyers with big names have not even extracted an order to serve on anybody. I asked the Deputy Commissioner General of Prisons, have you been served with any order? No, I haven't. Instead, there's a lot of politicking about it. I don't know, maybe the affected people should consider changing lawyers who are focused on getting them freedom rather than political capital for themselves. Because now we have hybrid lawyers. They are in politics, they are also in legal practice. So you do not know whether they are now running on the normal fossil fuel or hydrogen at any given time. This I have to say very plainly, because if I'm a lawyer, I'll first get my client out, then do the politics. And indeed, the liberty of citizens is paramount, and we urge the judiciary as much as possible to always make cases that do with the liberty of citizens a priority. So for instance, if there's a bail application, it should be heard first. Every other thing should be put aside to make way to handle the question of a citizen's liberty. I congratulate those who are promoted, and I understand it was God's work, but on earth God works through human beings. The Judicial Service Commission, who did all the interviews, the president, who has to make the difficult decision of out of the long list to make the appointments, and then the candidates who stepped forward. The judiciary is now very attractive, our guest of honor. The pay is very good. During the celebration of the Uganda Judicial Officers Association, I arrived late, and I cracked a joke that I had been busy trying to prepare my CV and application for the post of Deputy Chief Justice, which of course was a joke. The post has now been taken. So I call for the government to support the judiciary even more. Our guest of honor, in order to support the work of the Uganda Judicial Officers Association, I made a pledge yesterday. This is the Uganda Judicial Officers Association. They need a van to move up country. Our chief guests, some of our judicial officers at the rank of magistrates, are small gods in their jurisdictions. They wield power. I understand one time somebody was jailed for coming to court with a cap, with a hat. In some societies, a hat is part of the dress. Like among the cattle keepers, they just come to court with a... So I think the magistrate had woken up on the wrong side of the bed, and the hat offended him. So sent him to jail for contempt of court. So they really need mentorship. So now that you are here, I now request you to make real that pledge so that the Uganda Judicial Officers Association can get their van. It will also make me look powerful. Now they know. They'll now know that our minister, when he pledges something for us, it really comes. That one is small enough for me. The other things the Chief Justice can fight for. But this one, I think we can do it. I do believe that the choice of the judiciary is from a good catchment area. As usual, we hope that the majority will continue coming from within the bench, because those are the people who really know the environment. They are the people who the rain has been beating. Now that the grass is greener here, those who had been grazing very far, of course, are approaching. But we think still the judiciary should continue having the majority of those who are recruited, followed by the bar, the lawyers who serve the courts, and then we are next, the ministries, departments, and the agencies. Now we have people coming from Bank of Uganda, Revenue Authority, and so on. And then the academia. We also need those who are coming from academia. They can enrich the judiciary. And we have professors who are now on the bench. That's a good thing. And finally, the diaspora. How would we have gotten Justice Ogola if we had not thought about the diaspora, because he was away working for the IMF? So that balance, to me, our guest of honor, is very good, because it allows for cross-pollination. Those who have been on the streets banging tables, and those who have been on the bench, those who have been in the government offices, those who have been hiding in the Ivory Tower. That mix is very, very important for that. Lastly is some of the realities in our society. Yesterday we talked about mental health briefly during the judges' conference. Our chief guest, many of the people who are brought before court are actually sick. It is Justice Chibita who said all of us are a bit mad. It is a question of the degree. I think that is highly defamatory. Because he must be put to strict proof of that. But how do we protect those who are mentally ill, particularly in cases of estates? You are very rich, then you have mental illness. Then you are subjected to a lot of abuse by those who claim to understand your affairs better than you. I think we should even expand the debate, not just to be about mental illness, but even when you are an invalid, for instance, you are either having dementia, whether Parkinson's disease, any of these illnesses that are debilitating and they affect your judgment. all of you know about the disputes in one of the famous families where I think somebody is incapable of making decisions, and the matter is dragging on and on and on. I understand the estate is being gutted and so on. So this is again where the judiciary should step in to declare what the law should be. If tomorrow I have forgotten everything, my head is empty, I'm on a wheelchair, I can't talk, I have to be fed, and then those who are part of my family are selling my property and so on, and how can the judiciary protect me? So you have given us homework. I think it is also our duty to give you homework that there are other frontiers where the judiciary needs to go to ensure justice. You have done many things like the recent one, and I'm glad the Office of the Attorney General came as and admitted. We are used to licking our wounds. Whenever we are injured in court, we always heal and we come back. So I hope that mentally ill people and those who suffer from debilitating conditions will also be protected by the judiciary, because this other case, I understand they have now gone to appeal to the president. Why should they go to the president? The president has enough problems, Congo, M23, and so on. He's a busy man. Let the judiciary do its job. Once again, let me thank the judiciary for this curtain raiser event. Let me congratulate the members of the bar, particularly the president, our president. I'm, by the way, a member of the Uganda Law Society since 1994. We had had threats that you were not going to come. You don't know how happy I was to see you. And I thank you for leading the troops here. These disagreements are healthy. And for me, my only disagreement with you is that you never went to Namilyango, you went to Kisubi. But that is a rivalry which is historical. So we thank you most sincerely. The bar is the voice of the population. If you hadn't come, we would have missed a lot, and this occasion would have proceeded with a huge discount on it. So, as usual, it is my duty to invite the next speaker, who, by the way, across the Nile is also my big brother and an elder. So, in matters of protocol, I'll never catch up with him, even if I became president. He will still be summoning me. That one, there is no negotiation over it. My Lord, the Honorable the Chief Justice, it's now my honor to invite you to address us, my Lord.
The Right Honorable Prime Minister of the Republic of Uganda, representing His Excellency the President of the Republic,